The internet is so toxic and disrespectful. Man, y'all done sat up there and almost ran that lady up off the internet. Ugh, y'all get on my nerves. Welcome to my channel. I am Fronten'a, and today I am going to be sharing with you a video I made in response to a video that another creator named who goes by the name of Stephco here on YouTube. Her video triggered me so terribly that I just had to respond to it. I needed her to know why she is super wrong. And I also wanted other women who feel like she does to know that they are wrong as well. Now, I'm not going to go into it too much because I reacted to her entire video and you'll kind of be able to understand what I'm saying as we go along. But boy, oh boy, if you have ever been bullied on the internet or in your physical life, this video might be very triggering for you. So please be advised. I will play pieces of her video and stop it intermittently to give my commentary. But not to worry, I will leave the link in the description box to her full video so you can go ahead and watch that there. Now, according to my analytics, y'all really don't be messing with my longer videos. And this is one of my longest videos yet. But see, the message was so important that I just really couldn't chop it up. So please do your girl a favor and watch as much of it as you can stand. YouTube has this super janky rating system, and when someone clicks on and then off of a video, it tells that good old algorithm that y'all ain't feeling my content. What I'll do is I will leave you a chapter timestamp down below. And if you find you just need to jump ahead a bit, the chapter timestamp will help you find the parts you are more interested in. Okay? Now, let's get into this audio blog.
Hello and welcome to my channel. So this is an interesting video for me to make because I think I addressed some of these things a few weeks ago. I know I addressed them a couple days ago in a vlog I did for my patrons. And last week I had something happen and I really got to thinking about it, and it made me question a lot of things. There was something that happened very recently which made me kind of wonder, how smart is it as a content creator to use vulnerability as your brand, especially when you're putting yourself out in front of a global audience filled with people who are more likely to dish out judgment than they are grace? Let me explain a little bit about what happened. So I was watching TV actually, and I got a call from my aunt. And one thing about my aunt and my mom, they gonna watch my videos, okay? Yes, all the videos. They gonna watch the videos. They will tell me the general vibe of what's going on in the comment section. They will let me know, oh, people really liked this look. They liked this look. They did not like that. They'll let me know if somebody said something about the audio. They'll let me know if people thought it was funny. They are the assistants I wish I had enough money to hire, because I think that's the kind of help that I would need to really moderate my my relationships with my subscribers, because I think that you can only sort of take so much, and I'm aware that my comment sections are a little dicey. But I was talking to my aunt and she said, we were laughing actually about my last video, which didn't do so well because it got reported. Somebody reported it. So, I mean, it's still up, but never mind. But it didn't do well. It was a little risque. And my aunt and I were talking about it. We were laughing about it. And, again, not too much, but we were talking about it. And she said, well, after I watched that one, I got a video from another guy who did a reaction to one of your story times on my homepage. And I said, okay, yeah, that happens. I've got the reaction videos. They are out there. I've been aware of them since last summer. Most of them just relate to one video, but sometimes people make reactions to other things. I've just taken it as, I've sort of charged it to the game at this point. And she said, well, he almost had 1 million views on his reaction video. And I was like, Say what? Okay, because now we're talking about money, and we're talking about somebody using my content or my image to make some decent money, because 1 million views is not a joke. And so I was confused, because I was like, if a reaction video has 1 million views, then how come the source video is sort of staying stagnant? And so I did something that I promised myself beginning last summer that I would never do. And I actually entered my name into the YouTube search bar. And the reason why I say I would never do this is because last year when I was first starting YouTube, when people would find out about it, usually because my mom would tell the neighbor or the cashier at the grocery store or the person, mowing her lawn, or the Amazon guy, hey, my daughter has a YouTube. They would ask, what is it? And I would put my name, Stephco, into the search bar. And right after, I had my video last summer that most people saw, that a lot of people saw, I started to notice that when I put my name in, my videos weren't the first thing that came up. There's a lot of reaction videos, and those thumbnails were not always kind. I could tell by the thumbnail a lot of times what the content of the video would be. And when you have people around you that care about you and that love you, that's not something you want them to run into or to see. So most of the time when I would tell people what my channel was, after I saw that, I would be like, hey, I'll send you a link. I'll airdrop you the link.
This single-handedly is the reason that I hesitated for so long to make a YouTube channel at all. I knew I had something really special of value to offer Black women, but my awareness of the emotional harm available on the internet really kept me stuck in a place of wanting to help, but also being afraid to help. But I understood that my voice was important, my message mattered, and I had to overcome that and push through it.
Don't worry about it. But when my aunt dropped that bait of that man having 1 million views in a reaction video to my content, I said, you know what? Let me go check this out. I can handle it. So I put my name in to the search bar. And what I found broke my heart. And it brought me out of, I think, a haze, a very protective bubble. All of a sudden, I took my blinders off that I think I've had on for the past year or so, when I have felt that I was being an unproblematic creator, just making videos and making content on a platform that seemed really welcoming to me. In 1 second of me searching my name and seeing the things that popped up, that little bubble was burst. And I was standing face to face with the consequences of my choice to present myself 100% as me on the internet. Which brings me to the thesis of my video today. In an age where vulnerability for social media creators is praised, what is the real cost for the creator themselves? And is it actually worth it? Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about what I discovered, and without calling out any creator specifically, because clearly they're already doing well enough by making the content they're making. Let's just talk about the tone and the verbiage and things like that I discovered. And the reason why I think that's important is because a lot of times when you take offense to somebody reacting or taking apart or analyzing your work, people will say, well, you just can't take criticism. And in a second, I'm going to break down the different types of criticism and what is helpful and what is not so helpful and what's actually just outright bullying. Not going to do that right now, but in a second I will. However,
if someone has not asked you what your thoughts were, then why on earth are you offering it and then trying to label it as criticism? Your criticism and opinions of anyone who has not asked you for it is not them being unable to take criticism. It's you being unable to spend less time looking at how you are moving and what you are doing that's limiting your own personal growth. Imagine how much stronger a human you would be if you spent less time looking for the flaws in others and use that time to look for and then work on the flaws within yourself.
One thing that I want people to keep in mind that are watching this today is that intent is always less than impact. So for example, if you see somebody and maybe their shirt is hanging off their shoulders a little bit and you say, oh, you look messy today. Maybe in your mind you thought, oh, I just didn't want them not to look their best. But the impact that your tone and your words may have had on that person is so much stronger than your intent. And I think that was a big lesson that was being preached back in the summer of 2020, where people would say, oh, well, when we do this, we don't mean it. For example, any white actors who would voice Black cartoon characters on TV shows. And eventually what people decided, and what caused a lot of actors to leave their roles, was even if I didn't mean to uphold systemic racism by taking the part that could have gone to a Black actor, the impact of my actions is actually greater than what I ever intended. So as a result, I'm going to leave this role and let a Black actor step in instead. And I would say the same thing about any of the reaction videos that I saw. Even if somebody's intent was only to, raise a question or analyze, or there was one person who refers to themselves as a coach. So they maybe wanted to offer some coaching. The impact, as evidenced in the comment sections, as evidenced in the thumbnails that were used, as evidenced as in the words that a lot of these people chose to use when talking about me or my content, was so much more negative than I hope they intended. Now, I do know that some of them probably just intended to be negative, but the impact was definitely negative. And to be honest with you, at first I was enraged. And I may have visited a couple comment sections myself. And the people were probably confused because a lot of some of these videos are old, like 5-6 months old, but some of them are 5-6 weeks old, right? So I was enraged at first. And I just could not believe that this much sort of anti-me content exists on the internet. But then I just got really, really sad because, like I said, that bubble burst. I was no longer just this person creating things, growing, doing the best of my ability. It was like, I don't know, it was like I grew up in like 5 seconds. And I realized that, hey, you're putting this out in the world, and outside of maybe 1 or 2 comments in your comment section, there's actually a whole other effect taking place, and it's not great. Moving on. I mentioned before a lot of times that one of the reasons why I felt it was even okay to jump up on YouTube and make content and talk about the things that I talk about is because I had spent a lot of time on TikTok. And you may say, well, why didn't you just stay there? I think I've talked before about how I fell out with the algorithm. I was teaching at the time. My students found my account and they would be the only ones in my comments. And so when I would want to make content like about my personal life, and I was dealing with a lot of disappointment at that time, that's not what you want 7th grade kids to see. And so I quickly found that I wasn't comfortable posting underneath my original account where I had done a lot of my growth. And because I'd had that experience with TikTok, I was like, I'm not interested in trying to do it again. Also, there's a difference between the way TikTok and YouTube compensate their creators, and it's talked about a lot. And so I think until TikTok sort of matches YouTube in earnings potential, I will stay where I'm at if I continue to create content at all going forward in the next year. Yeah, it got that serious for me. It really did. I really had to have some hard talks with myself. And I'm sticking around for now, but damn. So I started off on TikTok. I joined the app like a lot of people, and very quickly I noticed that there was a new social media star in town, a new social media voice, a new social media emotional environment. And it was possible to be somebody online that I had never seen before. In a nutshell, I noticed that it was now cool to not necessarily have it all together, not necessarily be airbrushed, not necessarily be live, laugh, loving all over the place, but to show what happens when the camera turns off, to show how you really felt about A, B, C, D. And vulnerability had taken the place of perfection. And I thought, here's my chance. And you have people that are very, very eager and excited about their content creators being real people versus back in the day when content creators were praised for being sort of sitting up on a pedestal. And if you're the kind of content creator,
sis, let me tell you something. It was always cool for people to show their true self. But the actions of just a few has made it very unsafe for the ones who are brave enough to show who they really are, especially in this Insta aesthetic reality we now live in. It's full of real people living fake lives. And someone living in their truth scares people that are not. Just because I choose to live in my truth and put my most real, unfiltered self in the forefront doesn't mean you have to.
That has answered that call. If you're someone who does lean into vulnerability, if you follow people that do that, then you know that vulnerability is extremely powerful within the social media sphere. But you probably also know that it can help and hurt you. How can it help you? Well, I think it depends on the platform that you're on. So if you are on a platform like a TikTok, where being extremely honest and open, some could say too open sometimes, and you decide to share a story, there's more of a chance that you will be praised for that instead of put down, talked about, or, you know, inspiring a bunch of people to make reaction videos about it. For example, you have the creator Elise Myers, who went ultra viral last year for sharing her story about buying a guy 100 tacos on the worst first date ever. And I will link her video below, but it is as crazy as it sounds, all right? And any of us who have ever been on a bad date, any of us who have ever experienced something that we did not expect in our search for love, definitely related. I remember watching the story with all the experiences I've had. I remember watching her story, jaw just dropped. Not only did people love Elise's openness and vulnerability in telling that story, but of course they loved her delivery. If you've ever watched her do anything, she talks with her hands like this. She talks in a very measured tone. She definitely has like a cadence and a character that she gets across. And like I said, she went super viral with that. And as a result, she grew a huge platform. She was in a Super Bowl commercial. She's been on all kinds of talk shows. And she's consistently praised for being honest, awkward, real, open. She hit the vulnerability jackpot and she won. And so I think the truth of that is she was on the right platform at the right time. There was a moment in my content creation journey here on YouTube where I thought, ooh, people really like my story times. What if I become the Elise Meyer of YouTube? But I don't think that's possible, and that's for a couple reasons. The first reason is Elise is definitely somebody now who is married and has a child, so she's no longer in that place that she was in when she was telling those stories. She even starts off the taco story by saying, before I met my smoke show of a husband, I went on a date. You know, so we know as a listener, oh, okay, well, she's not there anymore. She has her happy ending. And therefore, when she wants to vary her content, when she wants to show a video of her playing with her baby, of her hanging out with her husband, the viewer gets and the listener gets they get a change in pace. There's a balance created there for her as a creator. And as a result, I think a more positive response is engendered from the viewer. Also, Elise is a Caucasian creator. And
And don't underestimate the power of the promise. The promise that if it happened for her, it will happen for me too. See, because she's on the other side of her comically traumatic dating journey, so she looks like a hero that's won the battle of the single season. And so women are able to see hope for themselves in her. But your story is still unwritten. So your story is being interpreted as a sad tale of the single life. But you have to understand, it only seems that way to the people whom your story was never meant for anyhow. They come to your comment section and leave toxic energy behind because they don't understand the process. And to be quite frank here, they're afraid of your honesty and what you being honest about your life and what that means for them in their lack of being honest about theirs. They're coming to be nosy and criticize your work as if they don't understand what they are getting from your content already. When women live in their truth, it bothers women who are not. And it's just that simple. I really want you to understand the impact of your stories and your experiences in this season of your life and how it helps the people around you. There might be 99 women who find your story tragic and hard to hear. And that's fine, because that's on them. But what about that one woman who finds camaraderie in your journey and is able to come to your channel and find a place to feel heard and understood? She's the person your story is for. Make videos for her and her alone, without giving even a second thought to those other women whom your message wasn't even meant for anyhow.
I say this because I really still feel like vulnerability in Black women is extremely looked down on. So crazy because in the past year, I've seen a lot of people speaking out and saying, you know, the strong Black woman thing is over. You know, I'm soft. I want a life of ease. And it's like, okay, cool. But what's crazy to me is there are really two extremes, right? I'm so hyper dependent and I'm so strong and I never let anything get to me and I'm always elevated and my vibration's always raised. Or I'm super soft, I'm a damsel in distress, nothing ever touches me, I'm living a life of ease and luxury. There's nothing in the middle that is outwardly celebrated as much as those two extreme archetypes when you come to how Black women can represent themselves in the media. And I think that that boils down to respectability politics. I think that boils down to us just knowing that the cost is higher for us not representing well. You know, what is the age-old saying? You have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have, right? And so I think it's okay for Elise to come on camera and have her hair in disarray and her cheeks are blush red and, you know, she is dressed in pajamas and she didn't put on makeup. You know, it's fine. Everybody thinks it's cute. It's awkward. It's adorable. It's fun. But let a Black woman come on camera like that and she will be dragged for filth. I know this because I've seen the comments that exist about me out there on the internet. Everything from someone said I had 3 chins because I'm apparently exorbitantly overweight. They talk about whenever I experiment with my hair, they say that it is a sign of innate anti-Blackness, even though I legitimately wear different hair in almost every video because it's fun. The point is that not only are Black women limited by society and how we can represent ourselves and be accepted, but we also limit ourselves. And I recently got a message from somebody on Instagram and they were like, hey, I saw a reaction video to one of your videos pop up and there was a Black woman in the video and she was talking about your content and it was like bullying you. And I said, oh, I'm not surprised. I've seen it and I understand where it comes from. But anyway, back to my point. I did get excited when people first started looking at my story times. It's like, yes, I'm gonna be the Elise Myers of YouTube. But I don't think that the two things translate. I don't think I can. So just to take it back to my main points, another way that vulnerability can help you is if you are the right messenger for the message. There are so many times that I've seen young girls, young Black girls on TikTok, which is still a very, very open platform. So even though, you know, Black women being vulnerable isn't gonna be as praised, it's still allowed in a great more sense on that platform. And there's one girl in particular who sticks out to me. She goes by the name Lip Gloss. And she's a young, dark-skinned Black girl who talks about feelings of desirability. She talks about not being seen as attractive. She talks about feeling alienated from men, not really knowing if she can ever be accepted. She talks about a lot of things that were also on my mind when I was around that age and are still on my mind now. And she's very funny. And very quickly, she amassed a following of 1 million followers. And what I noticed about her is that there's very few, because I looked for this video, I did some research and I looked through stitches and things for her content, and most of it is praise. It is the highest praise. Thank you for saying this. Thank you for speaking out for us. We love you so much. There was one video that I saw about her the other day where someone was like, if she has 1 fan, it's me. If she has no fans, I must be dead. I love this girl. And yeah, I thought about it and I said, well, you know what the difference between her and me, because we actually talk about a lot of the same things. Number 1, where she is, the platform. Number 2, she's like 19. And I think in general, people are more forgiving when a 19-year-old girl is asking these big, hard, heavy questions than when a woman of my age, who should already know the answers and be over it, is asking these big, hard, heavy questions or bringing these things up. But what I really love about her journey as a creator is there's very little negation of her discoveries. She is validated, she is lifted up, and she's supported by the community that sees themselves in her. And I think it does have everything to do with age, and I think it has everything to do with platform. However, you don't.
That 19-year-old girl on TikTok is the right messenger for the message that other 19-year-old TikTokers, probably white, want to hear. But that is not your audience. Even if you were white, you would still be received differently because 19-year-old children are in a totally different stage of life than that of a woman in her mid-30s. I have 2 adult sons that know me very well. One is 25 and married, and the other one is 21 and in college. And despite their age saying that they are adults, they are still children. There is so much life they haven't even touched the surface of yet. So even though they know who I am, they don't really know who I am. And they won't until this phase of life that I am in is the same phase of life that they are in. I ask my children to watch my videos all the time, and they do. But they are not the audience I make videos for. So even though they are always supportive of my work, my message is not going to resonate with them. For instance, I'm a married woman, have been for the past 10 years. Before that, I was a divorced single mom and was in that stage of life for 12 years before I got remarried. So I know that there are a particular group of women who would benefit from hearing my story. 19-year-old TikTokers are not them. And I only say this because you do have the exact right message, just probably the wrong audience.
Don't always have to be super young to be able to use vulnerability to endear people to you and to your message. I say that because a couple weeks ago, Viola Davis did an interview. And in that interview, she talked about how even after she'd won an Oscar and a Tony, and had done all this other acting, when she was up for the role of Annalise Keating in How to Get Away with Murder, there were people in Black Hollywood who basically said, no, she's not attractive enough. And it just reminded her that she has not come as far as she thought she had, away from the demons of colorism and racism and texturism and featureism that followed her from.
But first, a quick message from our sponsors. Have you ever been minding your own business, living your best life, and out of nowhere, catch a whiff of something? Something nasty? Yeah, that's you. But not to worry. All you have to do is give one quick swipe wherever you find funk, and poof, problem solved. Psych, y'all, I'm just playing. I ain't got no sponsors. Well, not yet. Hey. Now I'm clowning, but for real though, before we go into this next chapter, can y'all do me a favor and subscribe? Subscribe, please. Please subscribe. Go ahead. Subscribe. 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 Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please. Why aren't you subscribing? Huh? Please subscribe. Oh, and I know I just asked you for a favor, but can you also give me one more little thing? I won't bother you again. Just a quick thumbs up, okay? Thanks. Now, let's get back into this audio blog.
She actually shared a story that happened to her when she was a kid, and I'm not going to repeat it here, but it was a story that also happened to me. And when I saw that, I was like, I wonder how many other women of color, I wonder how many other people, period, anybody who's ever been bullied as a kid has been through that and has just been existing anyway, you know? But anyway, to take it back to Viola, when she shared her story and she talked about how, you know, people in Hollywood were still really harsh on her about her looks and about how colorism has been a really big hurdle for her and it's been really tough. Nobody was like, oh, she's lying, she's making it up. No, colorism doesn't even exist. If she noticed it existed, it's because she didn't raise her vibration. If she wanted to be seen as not a dark-skinned woman and she wanted to be seen as a woman who was not unattractive, she just needed to believe it. She just needed to believe it. And if she doesn't believe that, then that's why the people didn't think that. Nobody did that. Because Viola Davis is not somebody that we see as a victim, she ain't got no reason to lie to us, man. You know what I'm saying? We don't see her as somebody who's just trying to get attention. We don't see her as somebody who's just trying to present her saddest, most raw self in a way to gain an initial audience. She's already got the audience. We know her talent first. So when she shares, hey, even though I'm this talented woman and I'm up here on this pedestal, this is what I deal with every day. Instead of anger at her for maybe making it up, instead of anger at her for wallowing in something that we may feel is just not that serious, we say, you know what, sis? I bet that is painful. You go ahead. You did it. You did that. And we praised her for being
Just because you have not personally experienced something doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Your experiences are real. They are valid. And when people try to invalidate other people's experiences, that is a direct link to the reason why depression, anxiety, and suicide rates are so high within the Black community, because we are the worst offenders of this. We basically deny that we are even human with human emotions. We try to strong arm the ones around us into believing we are the lie that we've told ourselves. The Black community is literally its own worst enemy. We have been passing down generational habits from one generation to the next. We keep calling it a generational curse, but that's not a curse. What it really is a habit, and a very bad habit. I just need to know if we are still doing this new soft life thing or what, because it doesn't really seem like we are. This new soft life idea seems like the same old hard life we've always had, just with new packaging. Black people, we gotta do better, man.
And so I think vulnerability can help if you already have an established platform somewhere else. If you're already known as something else and then you decide to tell a little story or two, I think people are way more likely to say, yes, we accept you, thank you for sharing. Versus, ugh, not this again. This is all you got? This is all you got? Which is, of course, again.
Yes. Actually, yes, this is all I got in this season of my life. What I'll do for you is I'll block you for now, and once my season changes, I'll consider inviting you back in. But make sure you turn on your post notifications so you get alerted as soon as my season becomes more palatable for you. Girl, bye. Ugh.
Thought to me in my content when I dared look up my own name on the internet. So obviously the next thing to look at is when being a vulnerable creator can actually hurt you. The first thing is that you can get a reputation for being a trauma dumper. Now I think that even in a vulnerability paradise like TikTok, trauma dumping is actually a huge problem, which if you don't know, it's the process of taking your saddest and most unfortunate truths and making sure everybody knows, whether or not they have the emotional capacity to listen to them. It's also finding environments where people are sharing that kind of thing and taking your stuff out and sharing it as well. And so what I've noticed, especially in the comments over on TikTok, is like somebody will share a story and they'll be like, I was sad today because I don't have a boyfriend. And the comments will be like, well, I almost drove my car off a bridge because I don't have a boyfriend. And people are just trying to one-up each other and, you know, compete for the saddest person on the block. And it can get a little exhausting and a little like, ooh. Now, sometimes it can be great because it's like we're all in this together, especially some of the content that I was seeing around Valentine's Day. I was rolling, laughing, crying, and I felt really supported by people who were experiencing reality like me. But I do know that sometimes it can just be really, really intense. And so I think in that way, vulnerability can definitely hurt you, whether you're the type of person who is trauma dumping or
I was this person for a very long time. I felt like I needed to get things off my chest, and I would put that responsibility on the ones around me. But see, here's the thing. We do absolutely need to unpack things that are causing us emotional distress. But we need to make sure we are doing so to the appropriate person. Our friends and family are not meant to be our therapists. We need to unpack emotional stressors and traumas with a person who is trained at helping us understand how these events have affected our lives and what we can do to heal. And furthermore, why do y'all keep coming up with new terms that don't allow us to be human? Trauma dumping, sad fishing, compassion fatigue. These are all terms that keep people from being able to say, hey, I'm really experiencing something tough right now and I need help. Putting labels on everything brings stigma and shame. And once stigma and shame join the chat, it's over. No one is seeking help for anything else at that point. We're going to have to stop gatekeeping the emotions of others. If someone's energy is off and it's causing your energy to be off, you have the right to disengage. Take a break, step away, and come back if and when you see fit. But what you don't have the right to do is to tell someone how to manage their experiences. And you don't have the right to someone else's emotions, period. And no one has the right to yours either. Them boundaries will come to the rescue again and save that day. I can promise you that. It is simply not your responsibility to manage the emotions of someone else. I mean, if someone is feeling drained and exhausted by the energy you give off in that moment, it's not your job to worry about how your energy is affecting them. It's their job to put their own mental health first and set boundaries around whatever is making them feel weighed down. Now, one thing I will say, this is why therapy for Black women is so important. We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, and we don't give ourselves the permission to set it down. Therapy will help you walk through the steps of unpacking all that we carry around with us so we can feel lighter. And we don't even need to, quote unquote, trauma dump on anyone, because the person we are dropping all of our emotional baggage on is there to help. They want to help. They get paid to help. And most importantly, they are trained to help you in the right way.
Also, I think that if you are a creator who uses vulnerability, sometimes you can get a reputation for being someone that causes your audience compassion fatigue. I had somebody reach out to me the other day and they were like, whenever you tell a dating story, it re-traumatizes me. And I was like, well, why don't you just unsubscribe? And the way that they responded tripped me out, because they were like, well, I didn't expect you to respond that way. And I think it's because I just have a different attitude about content. Like if somebody's producing some stuff and I feel like it's bringing me down, or, you know, when I watch it, I'm going to get exhausted in some kind of way, then I just won't look at it. Enough is enough. But I think you have some people who really, really bond with someone. And I know I've done this too. And they don't want to feel like they're letting that person down by not supporting. But every time they go to support, it's the same feeling, it's the same vibe, it's the same energy. And they're tired of that. But they don't want to leave you, but they also wish that you would give them a little bit of rest between feeling so sorry for you. So I think sometimes when you are being really vulnerable, and I think when that vulnerability does produce negative feelings with your audience, then you absolutely can cause them compassion fatigue. And while that's not directly your fault, like I don't take ownership of somebody not being able to stop themselves from pressing play, I do think in some way you have to take ownership for deciding to put certain things out into the world. You have to, you're the creator of those things. The other way that vulnerability can hurt you is that it invites in bullying disguised as constructive criticism. So bullying is defined as this, whereas criticism is defined as this. Two completely different things. And the thing that really sticks out for me in both definitions is bullying is unwarranted, it's not asked for, it's not done in a way to try and help or uplift the person in any way. It is simply voicing negative opinions and harsh thoughts and harsh realities that may not even be based on the truth towards someone that you generally do not like. Whereas criticism is supposed to be a tool to help somebody see their strengths and their weaknesses, to raise the quality of their work, and to ultimately help them just be better, right? I think that sometimes people confuse the two. Furthermore, I think that people confuse criticism, constructive criticism, with destructive criticism. Constructive criticism is, like I said before, defined as this, whereas destructive criticism is defined as this. And so how many times have you been online and maybe you've been watching a video and you've seen somebody just say something off the just wall rude, and when someone responds and they're like, yo, you didn't have to talk to me like that, the person is like, you just can't take criticism. If you don't like it, stop putting stuff out there.
Criticism, whether destructive or constructive, if it is unsolicited, It's unacceptable. When you make content and put it out in the world, you have to expect that it is going to be judged. I get it. However, what you are not going to do is talk to me crazy and tell me I can't take criticism. I don't have to take the opinion of some mean-spirited stranger and do anything with it, except set boundaries around it and let you know that I ain't here for it, and then block your behind. You do not have to censor your story. You don't have to accept anyone tearing you down, and no one has the right to be in a space in your life that they were not invited into. Period.
And while I do sincerely believe that the people who do criticize destructively really think they have a point, I was watching a video the other day that reminded me of why they don't. And it was basically a guy who, and I'm not going to show it because it was on the OWN TV TikTok account. And well, I don't know if I'm going to get docked by showing that, so I won't. But I will just tell you the gist of it, and I'll link it below. Basically, this guy was trying to counsel someone who has a little bit of a mouth on him. And he was saying, you know, hey, I'm a grown man too, and I have a lot of opinions, and you know, I might see somebody wearing something and I don't like it. I might see somebody doing something and I don't like it. But what I have to ask myself before I speak to that person is, have I earned the relationship to be able to criticize something that they're doing? Do I know them well enough to be talking to them crazy? Is basically what he was saying. And what the guy he was talking to was like,
nobody is ever going to know me well enough to talk to me crazy. And there is no amount of earning any level of relationship with me that will make it where this would be so. And see, here again is where them boundaries come into play. You have to demand that you be handled with care, kindness, and love at all times. Or don't allow that person or persons to handle you at all. There should never be a time where you are allowing anyone to disrespect your peace, your space, and definitely you should not be allowing them to disrespect you with their words. Period.
Oh, and I think that's a light bulb moment that a lot of people that provide destructive criticism probably need to hear. Wanting to point out what you like or don't like, there's nothing wrong with that. But have you earned the relationship to be able to say it the way you're saying it? And a lot of times the way you're saying it might derail your message all the way off. I don't think a lot of people who openly criticize people on the internet think about that. And so if you are leading with vulnerability in your content, you absolutely might run into people who, they don't give a damn. You absolutely might run into people who will destructively criticize you and then insult you for not being able to take it. And it's just like, this is terrible. Which brings me to my last point. If a creator who leads with vulnerability is more likely to be criticized, all creators are likely to be criticized. I have seen so many people in the past few weeks, even over there on TikTok, the home of vulnerability, as I'll call it. I've seen a lot of people come forward, and these have been furniture designers, have been cooks. These have been people who do mommy content. Moms are attacked. Moms are crazily attacked. But the point is that I've seen a lot of people come forward in the past few weeks and they've just been like, yo, these comments are brutal. They're really getting to me out here. There was one lady
Real quick, sounds to me like somebody need to be setting some better boundaries. Y'all whoo-wee.
I watch her content because she's an interior decorator, and I like to think that one day I'll get it together in a place that I love and I enjoy being in. But she had to actually print out all the good things that people say about her and frame them and put them on a wall. So she has them to look at the next time someone says something destructive in her comment section and wants to pass it off as helpful criticism. And it's interesting that I bring that up because this past week when I looked up my name and I saw all of the things that people say about me, people say about my content, and I really, really got a real idea of who I actually am on YouTube versus who I thought I was. And just, whoa, they don't match up at all. I was extremely...
No, ma'am. How you gonna let some strangers tell you who you are? You know who you are. And more importantly, God knows who you are. Do not allow anyone to make you question who you are. And if you fall into this space again, go back and talk to God and let God remind you of who He created you to be.
Really sad about it, and like I said, I did cry. There was a couple days where I was just like, you know, I even went to my YouTube settings and I thought about just wiping myself from the internet and getting a degree in library science, because when I tell you I love to read in the first grade, I love to read in the first grade, and going back and being an elementary librarian, I love to read all the way through elementary school. Books were life. And yes, I taught English to upper grades, but there was nothing more magical than those early reading years. Like, I mean, just those people in those books, those were my best friends. When Beverly Cleary died, I think it was 2020 when she passed, I cried. I was in tears. I was a mess. So yeah, I definitely thought about that. I was like, what else can you do? You have so much more to offer the world, and you deserve so much better than this reaction. Not necessarily than what the platform you've been able to build or the people who do love your content, but you deserve so much better than this. And you would never even be seen this way if you hadn't led with these stories first. These people don't know you from a drop of paint. If they had never heard these stories that you let them hear, that you allowed, because it's easy to put up a facade, right? They only know what you let them know, which is funny, because then people wonder about why influencers aren't authentic and real most of the time. That's because folks will tear them apart. But anyway, so I thought about it. I thought about it. And I actually sat down and I prayed a little. I mean, full knees to the ground. And I said, you know, I need a sign. If I should continue, I need a sign, because this is too much. I was marching ahead, beating my own drum in a little safe bubble, and had no idea what else existed out there. Had no idea what the reality of my perception was. And what's so crazy is seeing that doesn't change anything, right? I'm still me. Everything is really still the same. It's only, I just know now, right? And the knowing is what got me. It's like once you turn 6 or 7 or 7 or 8 actually in my life, and someone tells you, hey, there really is no Santa Claus. You know, you just been marching along to the beat of your little drummer boy drum, celebrating the holidays. And if you're someone like me, getting in full on fights if somebody tells you there's no Santa Claus, because that means your mama lied to you, and your mama don't lie. So if somebody say there's no Santa Claus, they're calling your mama a liar. That's a fight that I really got in first grade. That's what I would liken, you know, that discovery for me too, is just me figuring out, oh, my perception of myself online is not real. There's this other thing here. Oh, well, that changes everything. So I sat down and I had to pray about it. And I kid you not, the next morning I woke up and I got this beautiful email. I never put anything out in the world. I didn't write another long letter on my community page. I didn't post anything on social media in any way. And I received this long email. And I didn't print it out and put it up anywhere, but I definitely took screenshots of it. And I sent it to one of my friends who had to listen to me cry about the content that I found. And then maybe an hour later, I got another email. Yep. And then later, I got a third one. By the end of that day, I had received 4 messages from 4 different people letting me know how much they appreciate what I do online. No, they're not the people that go out and make videos. No, they're not the people who grab a microphone and shout the loudest. But I asked for a sign as to whether or not what I did had value, and as to whether or not what I was doing was actually the worst thing in the world, like some of the people online think it is. And I received my answer. Then the next day, as if it wasn't enough, I got another message, and I got another one. So total, I received 6 messages, unprovoked, within a 48-hour span of people saying, atta girl, I like it. I still like it. Yes, it might be weird. Yes, some of it might be really raw, a little too raw. Yes, I can imagine, you know, how traumatizing it was for you to go through. Yes, of course, you could have made better choices. We all can, but I like it. Good job. And that was great to hear. So in the end, what's the resolution? Is vulnerability worth it if it's going to bring you all this negativity? Even if, you know, maybe that's just the name of the game of content creation in general. Even though I literally checked every person that I follow on YouTube to see if there were reaction videos or something to them. And only 2 of the people that I follow have any reaction videos about them, and most of the reactions are from the same creator. So like one creator is like really upset with this person and they'll just make videos and content. And I was like, oh wow, I really stuck out in some folks' minds. But you know, I said to myself, you know, maybe this is just the name of the game as it pertains to you. And so do you think it's worth it? And I think
girl, those reactions exist because that's just the name of the clout game. Your channel does well. So just by talking about you, it brings more views to those channels. It's not that there is something bad about you that makes people do all these reaction videos. There is something bad about them, that they would try to break you in a way that has made you almost deleted your entire channel. As I sit here making a reaction video. The irony, right? It's really just the hypocrisy for me. But anyway.
As with anything, you know, you have to gauge, well, have I been successful? And I think I have been successful. And so as somebody who's been slightly successful, do you think that it's worth it to lead with vulnerability? And to that, I just say it depends on your platform. Again, if you are an Elise Myers and you're over on TikTok selling stories, yeah, it's worth it. Absolutely. In 1 year, you went from just giving birth to doing a Super Bowl commercial. I would say that's worth it. If you are like the young girl, lip gloss, and you are in the right place at the right time, and for whatever reason your audience has said, we will hear it from you. You're the right messenger for the message, it's absolutely worth it. If you are an accomplished actress like Viola Davis.
Girl, you are the right messenger for your message. Who better to share your message than you? You are absolutely 100% the right messenger for your message. And when God gave you that sign or that answer that you were seeking, that was Him letting you know exactly that. I strongly believe that we have to give ourselves permission to share our own experiences. Do not ever allow someone to take your voice. Because when you do that, not only are you destroying your own chance to unpack your traumas, but you are also destroying the ability for someone else to be blessed by your testimony.
Who needs to be a constant reminder to society that even though we push certain Black women up on a pedestal, they have to fight so much to get there. I think that's worth it. I think her sharing her story makes vulnerability very worth it. Now, here on YouTube, I would say that for me personally, what I decided is that I would still share stories because I love storytelling, but I'll never share another dating story, and that's just what that is. But I will share stories. I shared one recently the other day, and that's more along the lines of the kind of thing that I'll share when I want to tell a story. And I also decided that when it comes to certain types of content that I know sort of feeds the wolves, because there are specific people who sometimes make consistent content reacting to what I do, I won't make that content simply because I have way more to offer. And sure, they might say, okay, well, I can talk about that, whatever, I can't stop them. But I just know that based on what I've seen, I will not feed what they currently are interested in. And so at the end of the day, if you're looking to start your content career, because right now that is the name of the game, right? People want to be full-time content creators. Well, actually, this is what I learned. They want to go from, they don't just want a remote job. It has to be in the tech industry. And then once they get to the tech industry, they want to leave and be full-time content creators. It's kind of the pipeline that I see talked about on social media. And so I would say if you're the type of person that wants to share stories or wants to do whatever, share what you feel comfortable sharing. And the best way to share is make sure you're in the right platform. So on YouTube, I definitely would say be careful. This is definitely a platform where people go to learn how to do something. And so if you come at them with all these
And yes, YouTube is a how-to platform. And you give how-tos. You teach women how to manage their terrible dating experiences, learn from them, and potentially even be lighthearted about it. Since that is a how-to.
stories and story times, you may be received very well. There are some people you may not be received very well. But most importantly, I think building a reputation for yourself outside of your private life and your private stories, not only does it help people, like I said earlier, accept those private stories a lot better, but you have another horse in the race if that works against you. In the end, vulnerability on social media is incredibly valuable. We've seen its value because we have seen in the past few years content creators come forward who lead with that and are as successful or more successful than people used to be back in the day, when the only thing they talked about was their clothes and what restaurant they ate at and what vacations they were on, right? So we know vulnerability is powerful and it's valuable. And most importantly, it's valuable because a lot of times when one person is vulnerable, it gives another person just the space to say, oh, me too, and to let go of maybe some shame about something.
This is why it is so important to keep telling your story. Girl, I'm telling you, your stories are blessing other Black women who are in the same season of life that you are in. You cannot let the internet stop you from living in your truth and using your platform to inspire other women.
And shame dies in safe spaces once truth is told. However, the internet is never 100% a safe space. I learned that the hard way when I finally had the bravery to look up my name online. And so, definitely tell your truths. Learn from me. Protect yourself. Tread carefully. Thanks for watching.
This thing called life is a to the grave learning lesson. We will never have it all together. As soon as we think we mastered something, boom, here comes the next lesson life needs you to learn. You will never have it all together, and that's okay, because that's actually what makes life so beautiful. I found your channel when your Pretty Privilege video went viral, and have been enjoying your videos ever since. I see how people in your comment section respond to your content. And hello, I'm a married mom of 5 and I watch your stories. Not because I can relate to them, but because you are an amazing storyteller. Your stories are hilarious and entertaining, and I know I am not the only person who enjoys them. Your channel has had amazing growth, and that wouldn't be the case if people didn't love your content. I know the negative comments can make you feel like you are not celebrated. But see, that's the thing. For some reason, angry people with ugly spirits seem to be able to speak the loudest. But don't believe them. Believe your analytics over whatever people who your story is not meant for are telling you. And girl, get to know that block button. Since people can't seem to not watch your videos even though they don't like the content, the best thing you can do for them is to take your content off of their video feed, so they don't have to accidentally watch your videos ever again. And get you a moderator or two. Heck, your mama and your auntie sound like the perfect fit. Let them scrub your comment sections. Ramp up the use of them YouTube blocked words feature and start slapping folks upside the head with that block button. Or just let your mods do it for you. That way you remain in a peaceful creative space and not have that disrupted by internet bullies with mean, ugly spirits. During my process of educating myself on the workings of YouTube, I heard over and over about making yourself the authority of your niche. Girl, you have the authority on telling a great story about your trash dating history and being able to laugh through what might have broken someone else. And not to mention, you have become the go-to channel for all things pretty privilege. Girl, you better monetize that. You already turned what people tried to drag you for into a thriving YouTube channel. Now turn that thriving YouTube channel into the next part of your journey. Girl, I be selling all types of I don't have pretty privilege and it sucks. Girl, t-shirts, handbags, hats, bonnets. Girl, I'd even make me some wigs like, oh, you don't have pretty privilege? Well, this wig might help you get there. Girl, I am playing, but I am really not. What is better than using your testimony to be a blessing to someone else who needed to hear that from you? Girl, God gave you that gift of storytelling. Use that gift. Use it and be a blessing to others who need to be blessed by your experiences. You are the right messenger for the message. It's your message. And it's so important that you don't let the enemy win. YouTube is a how-to platform. And you know for sure how to turn a trash dating experience into an interesting story. Well, anyway, girl, I'm gonna go before I start asking you to at me so I can go bust some heads. But girl, you are blessed. Your storytelling is a gift. Don't disappoint God by stopping the glow He gave you just so you can please the enemy. Be mindful of how you allow others to handle you, and forgive yourself for how you've handled you. Please consider becoming a part of my village. I think you'll like it here. Until next time. Since you're already here, you might as well watch another video. I'll just put it right here for you. It's right here. Just one little click. Go ahead. So we can be together longer, okay? Alright, guys, see you in the next one.